Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to this edition of the EGU podcast for conscious, awakening, and emerging souls. I'm Michelle Reinhardt, bringing you a global expert each week to inspire and guide your unparalleled success in mindset, energy, business, and all things spiritual to help you thrive. And today we're offering you a money mindset makeover. And I've invited the Love Money Coach to the show, Kerri Gardner. Welcome to the show, Kerri.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's exciting to have you. We've got some fabulous tips lined up for our viewers, our listeners. We want to help you become a master of money rather than the slave. So if that's of interest to you, please turn off your zings and pings for the next 20 to 25 minutes. And we're going to give you some of the hottest tips that we can to make that your reality. Let me tell you about Kerri. Kerri is an author and a speaker, a wife of 22 years to her best friend Trevor, and mother of their 3 amazing teens. She works with overwhelmed men and women who are struggling with their relationship with money and how it impacts their daily lives. Money is a constant worry for many, and this adds stress to lots of people's daily mindset. With Kerri's one-on-one and group coaching, these men and women are able to apply actionable steps to manage and grow their money, as well as eliminate their debts. The end result, of course, is a better relationship with money. They're no longer fearful or resentful. These men and women are no longer struggling with money, but achieving their personal and professional, as well as financial goals. Do you know what, Kerri? I love this so much. I have been in a personal situation with money where I've really contemplated blowing up my letterbox so that there was no bills.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So I'm really, really excited that we've got the opportunity to share with some people today how to do this. So let's get the ball rolling by speaking into why so many are in debt.
Well, so many are in debt because they want more than they need, really. I mean, it's the wanting, isn't it? It's we deserve everything that we want to the extent, I think. But sometimes we want more than we're not satisfied with just having. You know what I mean? Like you might be jealous of the Joneses. You might think your life needs to be here at a certain level, but you're here. So instead of waiting and building it as everybody normally does and attract what you want, you might go out and just purchase it. I actually recently wrote an article on purchasing the American dream, because that's really what it is over here. You know, if you're not making that income that you want, sometimes it's hard to get in that level of corporation or self-employment that you want as quickly or impatiently as you need it. And so you'll get the credit cards. And that's typically how people get into debt. Also, we're not taught how not to get into debt. We're actually taught to get into debt. So it's a combination of things, really.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You've hit the nail right on the head there. We're not taught. There's life skills that we're not taught.
Exactly.
And we don't know what we don't know. Let's have a talk about the importance of knowing your numbers and your debts, because that's where it all starts, isn't it? If you're going to get out of trouble, you've got to know what sort of trouble you're in.
Yes, exactly. Like I didn't know my numbers either. 5 years ago, we suffered, as you have told you before, we've suffered a foreclosure. And that was due to a company buyout. And if you're a one-income family, which most are, if you're 2 incomes, it kind of equals the 1. So you're either constantly struggling or you've finally managed to have that money mindset and the management in order to, you know, do really, really well and pre-plan your life. But 10 to 1, you haven't been taught it from nothing, as we just said. Yeah. They don't teach it in school for a reason. They just teach you how to balance your checkbook, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, I've taken this out and I've put it back in and now I have 0 or I have negative or positive, whatever it may be. That's not teaching you much of anything. That's just kind of like mathematics at the very basic. You know, knowing your numbers, for me, it was a really eye-opener to learn that, okay, it's not about gross income or your net income. It's about your net worth. So it's like what you really own versus your liabilities. And so net worth is basically taking all of your assets, stuff that you own, and subtracting it from stuff that you owe, which equals your net worth. And a lot of people don't like to put in that factor, the money they might owe family and friends. They think, oh, well, you know, that's just like, I'll get to that whenever. But no, that has to be applied in there because you need to exactly know what numbers you're you actually have in the bank or in a safe or in envelopes or jars or however you store your money. You need to know how you do it. You need to know exactly what you have. Otherwise, you're just fooling yourself, truly.
Yeah, and that hits on the next important topic, which is that net worth doesn't put a value on your self-worth.
Exactly. And I still struggle with that today, to be honest. 44 years old, I'll be 45 in September, because I was raised with such a very powerful, my mom was a single mom and she always had 3 or 4 jobs going.
Okay.
And so my example of living as a woman was you had to work, not always smart, but exceptionally hard to get the roof, the walls, the food on the table, clothe your kids. Mm-hmm. At one time or another, we were welfare kids. And then, we used to look forward to going to the local church for the flea markets, and the handouts. Because that's what we had to do, because she could afford only so much. So we needed help in other areas. And so, you grow up thinking, well, I don't ever want to go through that again, even though she's busting her butt for you. But you also grow up thinking, I have to have 3 or 4 jobs or more, or I have to constantly be working in order to make income, and that's my self-worth. And it's not true at all.
No, it's not true, but it's hard to not think that.
Yes, it's very hard, because that's a lot of years of paradigm programming, just programming from what you're being observant of, or what you're being told by your neighbors, or, if you go to church or TV, or your mom and dad, who are your central example, grandparents, aunts and uncles, whoever's influencing you, even teachers, principals. Everyone has a bit of, my greats like Bob Proctor and Brian Tracy and Lisa Nichols and them, especially even Canfield, he even says, you're born fine and you get refined, because everybody has a bit of their experience put on you, and then that experience becomes a thought or belief, and then you just repeat it, and now it's your way of living, and it doesn't have to be.
It's a false reality, isn't it?
Yeah, you're living up to other people's expectations instead of truly finding out who you are, what you love about yourself, and what you want to pursue that makes you happy. It's always, especially if you're a firstborn, it's always, I have to please. And you never learn to really please yourself. And that can also affect how you see your self-worth. And if you're not taught the proper money management or the thoughts about money and what you feel about money, that affects you, life, everything. Really, I always tell my clients, every decision affects you. And it's typically deciding on, can I afford that? It's always kind of boils down to, can I afford that? Mm-hmm. And it's really a shame, because you really can afford it. It's just how you've been taught to use money that enables you to do so or not.
So the big question here is, how do you go from the mindset of a welfare kid, if you like, that can't afford things, and not your fault, but just the way it is, to actually having a healthy money mindset?
It's personal development, most definitely. Something has to trigger, because I was taught with, I'm a certified law of attraction life coach that specializes in money. Because I love the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, all of that stuff, The Secret and whatnot. I truly believe that what I've been taught is you have to have contrast in order to have clarity. So going through the contrast for me, being a wealthier kid, seeing my mother struggle, dealing with, the divorced parents and the fighting of bills and child support and whatnot, and then growing up and then getting your own job. And then you understand that you literally, time is in exchange for money, and going from there. And then you have to have all this contrast to go, okay, enough, what do I want? And there's your clarity. And then once you realize that just because this person has lived that life, that doesn't mean that's your journey. And you don't have to accept that unless you truly want to. And it depends on where you've grown up. A lot of people force-fed, this is the only way for you. You can't have any more. And how dare you think any more? Sad, because they're just put into this box. They're really quite trapped from their mindset because of other people's input and forcing their thoughts onto them. And then there's others who go, no, learning personal development. I happened to be in the library one day and a book catches my eye, or something attracts you to that thing, because you're actually at that point in your life where you're saying, I want more. And then it's like, okay, the universe says, great, well, your wish is my command. So here's this book that you've been needing to read, to then push you over that edge of thinking you should just only stay here. And you can actually go here, but you just needed that information via a book or a personal mentor or a friend or someone who's already lived that life, and you happen to just be friends, and they'll say, I'll teach you the ropes. I've already gone through this. I'm happy to, share my wisdom, so to speak, and be any form of the opportunity through thinking and thoughts that you attract it to you. So For me, it was books, and it was also deciding. It always also helps to take that as a first decision. You have to decide, or you can't do anything, right? So it was deciding that I wanted more, and I wanted to do differently than my parents did, and so I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to have a long-lasting marriage, and like them, I wanted to have a marriage that was based on love and friendship and deep-rooted friendship. I mean, my husband and I were friends for 7 years before we even started dating. Truly my best friend. And with having someone who supports you as much as he does and I him, you just have this kind of feel safe. It just enables me to do more because I know I have his support, and same for him. Like, you have that backing, which enables you to open up wanting more, and then you just keep learning and growing. I just constantly feel that every year of my life is another opportunity to learn something more, either through books or movies or through a mentor or a coach. Stop learning, because I feel you truly keep learning until you take your last breath, and you have all these opportunities, and some people might not see that, and others hopefully do.
I know that you have developed for people a 9-step program to help people manage and grow their money. Would you like to share a little bit of that with us, Kerri, please?
Yes, of course. Yeah, the 9 simple steps. I love it because it's what helps me get through my foreclosure, and I've just expanded on that through my own personal experience. And so the first step is always the decision or the mindset, which is kind of one and the same. It's no longer deciding that this is my fate or this is what I deserve. Because if you've been raised with people who tell you that that's all you can have and you don't deserve it anymore, then you're going to believe that. But if you finally get to that personal development and decision that, no, I do deserve more, as long as I work smart, change my mindset, and kind of be more of an ease and flow and open to receiving,
yeah,
I truly believe you can build on that. And so the first thing about the 9 steps is, where's your mindset? And why do you think that way? It's always going back to your childhood, always, without fail, because this is your pre-programming of your foundation of who you become. But you don't have to be what you were taught. You can just kind of have that as a foundation to decide, is this who I am, or was this just a great learning tool? I'm not a victim and I'm going to move on. So that's the first step. And the second step is what we were talking earlier, knowing your numbers, because you can't start a budget. You can't save for anything. You can't pre-plan for anything unless you know exactly how much money you're playing with. Either that's money that's currently just been cashed and put into your bank account, or money that's coming from hours already previously worked, or inheritance, or whatever, savings, etc., or you take an extra job, or whatever it may be. Or like I've done as well, on top of that, I've actually won money through the law of attraction. Oh, I wish I had this, and it's cool. All of a sudden I had like 3 insurance checks refunded to me. No reason why. Like, I didn't even expect anything like that. I just said, universe, I need this much. And they said, okay. And then all of a sudden I got it in the post. It was, like that happen all the time. It's pretty neat. So knowing your numbers is number 2. Number 3 is, to get those numbers, you really need to start a budget. Most people think of the word budget and they start feeling that inner choking inside, like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I'm forced into this box of a budget. How dare you? And actually, by knowing your numbers and staying within a budget, you actually have more control of your money, which makes you the master and no longer the slave. When people don't acknowledge what they have, how much is going out, how much they're spending besides what they've actually earned, that you get in a lot of trouble. And then if that's not enough money in your opinion, because you want to live beyond your means, then you might look to credit cards or a loan. And if you have no ways of paying that back in the amount of time that it's due, it's borrowing somebody else's money, bottom line, with typically high interest rates. And it's not very much worth it, in my opinion. Try to live a cash life. That's our goal. And if we do use a credit card, if we do have for gas, it's only because it makes sense and we pay it off every 2 weeks and we get rewards. But it's been pre-planned to do so. So I'm still in control of that money. I'm still mastering it.
Yeah, we don't have credit cards after all the trouble we got ourselves into. They were the first things that got cut up, and we too live within our means now. And it's so much nicer that without having that pressure and that stress, like almost bearing you down. It's a horrible, horrible feeling.
Yes, it's a gut-wrenching feeling. I used to remember that gut-wrenching feeling, like, oh no, it's due today. Or when we went through that foreclosure, because we had gone through all our savings, and then first you have what's in the bank, just your normal checking, and then you have to, there's no more income coming in because your husband was the main breadwinner. At the time I was a realtor, so I didn't have anything coming in. I was waiting for houses to close. And now you're touching the savings, which now that gut-wrenching feeling starts. And then you go through the savings within 3 months, and then you're hitting your credit cards. And then all of a sudden the creditors start calling. So like, if I can recommend to anybody, live a cash only life. It is so much nicer. I mean, this is what all of our grandparents and anyone probably before them, that's the only way they lived.
That's right.
Credit cards didn't come until the 70s. So it was an absolute kind of like a nightmare when that happened.
It was. It was.
Yeah, I recommend that highly. And my grandfather always said, always get a receipt and always check it. So, keep going back to the old school rules.
I know. And there wasn't the dramas. So we've got decisions, we've got knowing your numbers, we've got budget happening so that we know where we're at.
Yes. And then you go through your budget. So then you're actually spending. So what are your expenses, right? Obviously, you got to write your expenses. It starts with the income, and then you got to start deducting.
Yep.
And after you get through your deductions, you got to see really where's your money going. Is it, do you really need this, or is it a want? We call them wasteful wants. So you need to go through your wasteful wants, and you need to really see, is this serving me?
I like that. Wasteful wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after you get through your wasteful wants, then you got to look at your living expenses. Because even though these are expenses, can you reduce the living expenses? For example, living expenses, living in your house. Okay, so we have to run the house. Do you need, well, for me, we're huge earth lovers. This is our only home. This is where we love to be. And so I want to keep it as safe and leave less of a carbon imprint as possible. And so we have LED lights throughout the house. Now, that helps use less light bulbs, less going into landfills, and it reduces my electricity bill. So now I'm saving. It's a living expense, but I'm making it more practical. It's a smart living expense. Same with your air filters in your house. You can go get the cheapy ones that you have to go through every month, I would say, and you're buying more and more and more, and then they just typically go in a landfill. Or do you get the more expensive ones that you can actually rinse out, wash out, and stick back in? We got those ones. Compared to $5 or $10 replacement every month, we spent, I think, $30 or $40 for 3. But I don't have to replace those again. I just wash them out. So my expense also came down on that living expense, and it's better for the environment, and it's better, you know what I mean? It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's another example of living expenses.
Yeah.
As well as another one is everyone plugs everything into their sockets ready to go for the next morning or throughout the day. You're actually still charging. You're still pulling on that electricity because it's making a contact with the plug. So we keep all our appliances except for the TV, the computers, and the fridge, and obviously the stove, unplugged. Like kettle, anything, any appliances that sit on top of the counter, they don't need to be plugged in. Your hairdryer doesn't need to be plugged in. Your curling iron doesn't need to be plugged in. You'll only charge our phones when they need it. You don't let it sit there and charge. Things like that. Another living expense that you can reduce your electricity bill with. Just things like that.
Yeah, it does. It makes a massive difference. Now, I'm going to leave an element of suspense here and invite our listeners to go and grab the rest of the 9 steps that we've touched on here. The link is in the show notes, guys and girls. So take the time to go and have a look at that. I have, and I got a lot of value out of it. I really love to encourage you to do that as a part of your mastering money rather than being the slave to it. Kerri, I would like to invite people to go onto your website and have a look at the work that you do with people. Your personal story precedes your expertise, and I know that that's why we do what we do, and we get very passionate about what we do because we're a living example.
Exactly, yes.
I would love to invite anyone that's listening to remind them that they don't have to do this journey alone. If you're finding you're in deep stress and worry about money, money is an energy, and it can be shifted. The results of money that you're receiving and achieving right now can shift. It is very difficult to do it on your own. It's much easier to follow someone that's walked the path that can lead you and steer you along the way. What would you say to anyone that would think that perhaps they wouldn't have the money to invest in a money coach?
I have that question all the time. It's kind of like ironic, really. It's like, I don't have the money, so how can I hire you to help me get better with all of this? And it's like, well, most people have the money to go get Starbucks 5 to 7 days a week at $6 a go. 6 sevens, what is that, $42? Or I don't know what it is in UK, but do you know what I mean? Well, they have cigarettes. They have a habit of cigarettes. What are those, $5 or $6 or more dollars per day for a pack? You know, when you say you don't have the money, it's prioritizing. What do you want? Okay, so do you want to get out of this mess? That 10 to 1 you have created yourself. And that's another thing. You have to own what you've created. Now, there's other influences, but 10 to 1, you've created that in order to attract more of it. I mean, when we went through that foreclosure, when we did the bottom line, we said, oh my gosh, we caused all this. We weren't great money managers. So regardless that he lost his job because it was a company buyout, if we had a really great, strong foundation with money, and we had our savings, and we had no debt to credit cards, and we wouldn't have gone through that foreclosure, if that makes sense. We would have had it all, paid it back, or whatever. You know, we would have been in better standings. But we had to learn from that experience to be where we are. So what do you want? Do you want to keep basically creating the same results, which is called insanity, thinking that you're going to do something different, but you always get the same results because you're doing the same things over and over again? Or do you want to better yourself and become stronger and become a master of your money? Because like you said, it's just energy. And another thing is the universe won't ever give you more of it if you don't manage what you have now. So if you're not doing well with it, you're never going to attract any more. So you have to fix what you've created now. For example, I'm doing a $97 intro pinpoint session, which goes over 1 or 2 money areas that you'd like to work on. To me, if you add up all those coffees and cigarettes, and maybe you might play the lottery here and there, or get your money, where is it actually going? And if it's something that you feel that's a better investment to make you a better money manager, which actually have you have more savings, which can lead to more investments, and just having that peace of mind and no longer that gut-wrenching feeling, why wouldn't you want to invest in at least 1 or 2 sessions? Or maybe eventually you get to a point where you do a group packages. So it's entirely up to them, but you're never going to change if you don't make that decision to do so. Is it worth those little wants instead of a need of spending? Or is it worth investing in yourself, your mindset, your energy, and your livelihood to make your life better and have that calmer peace? Attract more of what you want as well.
Absolutely.
It starts with mindset. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It does.
So.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. I do like to hear the response to that question, because we do need to prioritize what we want more of rather than think about and keep attracting that which we don't want.
Yes.
And in order to do so, we do need support, we need accountability, and we need to understand how and why we hold ourselves back so that we can start to heal all these things and change them. So I'd like to encourage our listeners to reach out and connect with someone that inspires you so that you can shift the things in your life that are making you feel unhappy and uncomfortable. And you can do so by reaching out to Kerri. Her website is in the show notes. Would you like to just share that with us, please, Kerri?
Yeah, sure. It's lovemoneycoach.com.
That's nice and easy. Thank you. You can also find me, Michelle Reinhardt, at michellereinhardt.com.au, and you can find us in our community online at Entrepreneurs Globally Unite, the gorgeous, like-minded community of people that have decided that they are not happy to live a life that's anything other than exceptional. So feel free to come and join us so that we can support you to make the shifts in your life that you desire, and take the opportunity to take Kerri up on her offer, the $97 opportunity there, as well as her free gift, the 9 Simple Steps to Manage and Grow Your Money. We've got lots and lots and lots of juicy goodies for you here. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope we see you next week. Thank you once again, Kerri, very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.